Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of Baker Barbecue. Today we're doing something a little bit different. Not really barbecue, but still a southern style food, if you will. We're doing some chicken fried steak. We got some cube steak. We're going to bread them up, season them, bread them, fry them with some mashed potatoes and green beans. It's going to be real good. To season our meat, basically, we gotta keep it real pretty simple. I use adobo and black pepper and a little bit of coriander. And I basically use the exact same seasoning in my breading. And for that, again, that's real simple. I just use all-purpose flour and use those same three seasonings in it, but I also add some salt and some baking powder as well. That gives it that fluffy crispiness that you really like to have on that breading. So it should be good. We're gonna get our meat seasoned up and our flour mixture, breading mixture mixed up, and I'll show you what we're doing from there. We'll see you in a minute. Here we go. You can see we've got our potatoes all cut up in the water ready for boiling. Today we're using golden potatoes. You can use any potato you want for mashed potatoes. I honestly usually just use whatever's on sale. As far as potatoes go, when I go to the store, I do like the golden potatoes though for mashed potatoes. They really do produce a nice creamy mashed potato once you get them all mashed up and get them done. So we're gonna move over to our meat. Here's our cube steaks that we're working with. You can see, there's a little bit of brown spots on the red spots, within that meat. Don't worry about that at all. That is perfectly fine. Anybody that's ever, worked with cube steak at all knows that that is just a natural occurrence you're going to get. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So as I mentioned, we're just going to season that up a little bit. We're going to use just a little bit of adobo on there. We're not putting a whole lot, because we're seasoning the meat and the breading, so you don't need a whole lot of seasoning on there. It really, you don't want to overpower the taste of the meat itself. I mean, this is still beef. It's got a nice flavor to it on its own, so you want your seasonings to really help accentuate that flavor, not, take it over. So that's all we're really doing there. We've already done the other side, so that's done. That can sit and sit in that seasoning for a while. Here's the bowl we're using for our mixture. I'd say that's probably about 3 cups of flour. So we're going to use we're just going to sprinkle some adobo, the coriander and the pepper in there with some salt and our baking powder. I'm not sure the exact measurements, but I think normally I do about 2 to 1 as far as salt to baking powder, so 2 parts salt to 2 parts baking powder. With this amount of flour, with this amount of meat that I'm doing, I'll probably do about 1 good heaping teaspoon of baking powder with 2 good heaping tablespoons of salt. Don't worry, that is not too much. Trust me. That's going to just help create that beautiful breading, and salt is flavor. It helps bring out your natural flavors of that meat. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get that mixed up and let that sit for a few minutes, get our potatoes boiling, and we're going to do a double breading on this meat before we fry it up. So I will show you that once we get ready. We'll see you in a minute. We're about to bread up our steaks, our cube steaks. Like I said, we're going to be doing a double breading. I've got my flour all seasoned up. I've got a bowl of just plain water. What we're going to do, we're going to bread them once, dip them in the water, bread them again, then they'll be ready for the fryer. Show you how we do that. We're going to be able to do 3 pieces at once here in our cast iron skillet pan. So you just, one time, just a quick dip in the water. Just drain it off till it's not actively, dripping, and then back in our flour mixture. Cover that back up real good. Now that double breading, again, that's also what's going to really help get a nice fluffy crust on that meat. So that's 1. We'll do the first 3 here. Show you all that. Get them in the frying pan. And then we'll do the rest. You don't have to see all of them being done. So it's a pretty simple process. I tend to kind of make a little bit of a mess sometimes, but
a little bit.
Yeah, if you're careful, you know, you can actually do this with little mess, but you know.
You prefer to go big or go home.
That's right. If I'm gonna do it, I'm making a mess. All right, here we go. Our third one. We've got our oil nice and hot already. That's been heating up for a while. So here we go. We're going to just pop these guys right in the pan. Oh yeah, that's just going to...
Overflowing.
Perfect. Look at that. Couldn't have done that better if I did it myself. So we're going to let those fry. Now everybody, you know, just like any other beef, you can cook them to whatever temperature, whatever doneness level you like. We like ours about, with this stuff, about medium, maybe just a little bit more than medium, but certainly not well done. Just like any other beef, it gets hard, chewy. So I'd say this probably is going to cook like that for probably about 5 minutes and then flip for another maybe 2, and that's going to be done. We're going to pull it, put it in the oven just to keep it warm while we do the rest of them. And once we get everything done, we've got our potatoes boiled, our green beans cooking. We'll get those mashed up, ready to go. And once we've got everything ready, we're going to sit down and eat. I'll show you the finished product once we've got that done. See you in a few minutes. So here we are. We are just about done. I wanted to show you this. One of the ways you can really tell that they're getting about done is that boil in that oil, that heavy fry and the boil of the oil really slows down a lot once they start getting done. Now this is the second batch I did, and I'm about to take those out. But you can really see the texture of that breading. And you can see those little black bits on there. When you're doing multiple, multiple parts of fry, where you're doing, more than one batch, you're going to get those little black dots in there. Don't worry about that. That's not hurting nothing. Those are just little flavor pellets. A little extra yumminess for you. So that's just about done. We're about to open up our oven, put those in the warmer. We've got our first batch in there, looking good. These are about to come out too. So basically all you're going to do is just let them stand up, let all the extra grease basically just pop off of them, and then set them right there in the warmer. Each one. See our green beans in the back there steaming up. They look good. They're about ready too. Our mashed potatoes, they're all boiled up, ready to go. So I'm going to mash those up. And then Jen is going to make some gravy for us. That's one thing I haven't quite mastered, but she is just the best at it. So we're going to let her do that. So we're going to cook some gravy, mash some taters, and then we'll be back. We have our gravy cooking up nicely. This is just a pretty basic gravy that Jen's making for us. Have some water, some chicken bouillon, and a little bit of cornstarch to thicken it up, and then some grease from the oil I used to fry the steaks in. So just a little bit of that oil. You don't need a lot of that in there. That's basically just the fat to help bind everything and give it that flavor. So that's thickening up good. We're going to let her finish that up, and then everything else is done. Once we get this done, we'll plate everything up and we'll show you our finished product. Alright, so here we have our finished product. We've got our chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes and gravy, and green beans. A little gravy on the mashed potatoes and the steak. Now I didn't put any gravy on this steak just so I could show you the inside, see the doneness of that. Now it looks more done than it actually is. Just sort of the nature of the cube steak, that cut of meat. But trust me, that is nice and tender and beautiful. I think we fried that up just perfect. So we have one thing left to do, and that's sit down and eat this. So that's what we're gonna do. Enjoy your meal. I know I'm gonna. This is Baker Barbecue. I'm Pitmaster KJ. We'll see you next time. Ciao.